Hey nerds, and thank you for joining me here for the first ever TOYBOX Tuesday on Close Encounters of the Nerd Kind. I'm your host Neil, and this is our brand new channel devoted to bringing you the latest and greatest in all things nerd. So whether you're into toys or comics or collectibles or anything you have to say you're buying for your kids, you're going to want to hit the like and subscribe button on this video and make sure you ring that bell so you stay notified of all the content we've got in store. With that being said, let's crack on. In this segment we're going to be taking a look at some new and not so new action figures and letting you know whether they're worth your time and, more importantly, your hard-earned money. Whether you're a mint in box collector or if you prefer playing and posing with your figures like a normal person, you're going to find something to interest you here. With that being said, submitted for your approval today is the latest masterpiece scale transformer from Fanstoys, FT-31D Smokey, which is of course their wholly unofficial take on the Decepticon Dragstrip and the fourth and penultimate figure in their 5-piece Menasor combiner set. For those that don't know, this is what's referred to as a third-party transformer, in so much it is not officially licensed by Hasbro or Takara. That explains the peculiar name and the slightly mid-90s Microsoft Word art font on the box, but that horrible font aside, it's a pretty good box. You know, Fanstoys really are the leading producers of these masterpiece scale figures now, even more so than Hasbro or Takara. And one thing they've really improved over the last few years is the consistency and quality of the presentation of their boxes. And this is no exception. It's a premium embossed cardboard, so really feels nice and sturdy. It's a great representation of the character on the front cover and a great little blurb on the back describing their wholly original Hereticon. So all in all, you know, apart from that font and that spelling of whale, you know, it's a good box, but I'm sure like all of you, I'm more interested about what's inside, so let's crack it open. Out of the box, you get a pretty standard accessories set as far as Fanstoys is concerned. They don't go overboard with them like Takara do, and generally that keeps the prices of their figures fairly reasonable, as long as you don't miss out on the pre-orders. I do have to take a moment to show some love for the face sculpts. Out of the box you get this stern, stoic, aka boring expression, but I prefer this alternate one with this cocksure grin, which I really think suits the look and style of the character perfectly, and it is leaps and bounds better than Make Toys' similar offering on their downbeat figure, which, well, just take a look. I mean, it looks like Elvis on LSD. You also get these two weapons, which, you know, they're alright. There's some decent paint apps on them, so they look a bit better than maybe they could do, but, you know, they're generally nothing to write home about. You could say they're too inaccurate. I guess they are. Other than that, and the final piece that you get, other than obviously the stat card, which absolutely no one asks for, or wants, or ever is interested in. Apart from that, you get the holo driver, which, you know, looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm probably not going to display this in alt mode, so he's going to stay in the box, but it wasn't needed, but will definitely be appreciated by some people, I'm sure. And finally, we have the figure itself, which presents beautifully straight out of the box. The bright yellow paint applications are absolutely sensational, and the only minor gripe I have out of the box is the fact that they left the thigh parts bare plastic. There may be some toon accuracy thing going on in that. I'm not actually a die-hard Transformers fan, so I'm not going to pass any further comment on that. I'm sure I'll get over it. There's also a slight panel gap in my copy, which is barely noticeable, but I'll definitely get over that. But other than that, first impressions are absolutely sensational. In hand, it certainly has that typical Fanstoys heft to it. You know, if you couldn't see all the die-cast metal in it, you would definitely know it was there anyway. But, you know, as I said, there are some instances of immediately noticeable die-cast. The shoulders, the knees and the elbows all have incredible bits of die-cast metal in there. At first it was a bit jarring to see so much of it freely on display, but when you look at the figure and you look at the chrome accents and what he's meant to represent, it totally fits the aesthetic of the figure and doesn't bother me in any way, shape or form. In terms of articulation, the head's on a ball joint, so you get the usual swivel. There is some up and down movement, but it's pretty pitiful, to be perfectly honest. And that comment sort of extends to the arms as well. While there's some decent movement in the shoulders, and it rotates fully through 360, as you can see through these shots, the lower arms, so the bicep swivel and the 90-degree bend at the arm, really limits your articulation and how many dynamic poses you can get from him, especially the bicep curl. You know, going just barely 90 degrees is really not good enough in a masterpiece scale figure anymore. Moving further down, the hips are an incredibly satisfying universal hip joint. I cannot stress enough how much I love a universal hip joint. More universal hip joints, please. They make it so easy to get this figure into a range of dynamic lunging poses, or, you know, even a running pose becomes very easy. And as we move further down, the knees are on a soft ratchet but very strongly reinforced by that die cast, as we mentioned before. That is one part I will get to later on that does completely explode in your hands during the transformation, but when it's in bot mode, it is an incredibly sturdy figure, as you can see. Moving to the back, it cleans up fairly nice. You know, there's not a lot of kibble on there, but there is a hell of a lot of screws, and it is a lot more unsightly from the back than the front. But all in all, you know, compared to some other figures, it's perfectly passable. Obviously, as this is an unofficial version of a Transformer, it doesn't come with any Decepticon insignias. You can see I've put one on the shoulder. They're just stickers, dry rub transfer stickers. One thing about this, it does show up when he's in alt mode, as you'll see later, which looks a bit unsightly. And instead of putting one on the spoiler, because I think that looks naff, especially with the red stripe, I decided to put it on the driver's cabin, which ends up there. I know some of you might sound off in the comments saying that's not too inaccurate. It looks a lot better, alright, so shoot me. So, this is a must-buy figure, alright? Well, it depends. Are you collecting the Fanstoys stunticon sets? In which case, it probably is. If you've yet to go in on any one of the free sets that have been available over the last 18 months, this figure is probably unlikely to tempt you into that, considering the cost of them. But all in all, if you're a fan of the character, it's a pretty good representation. Where it lets itself down is the articulation. The articulation in the arms leaves a lot to be desired, and there doesn't seem to be a butterfly hinge or any way to get any forward and backwards motion in the shoulders, which similarly makes it a bit difficult to get any cool poses out of him from an upper body perspective. Lower body, absolutely fine. Like I said, those universal hip joints are just absolutely fantastic. You make it so easy to pose the figure. You know, he's bright yellow, so he's going to immediately attract attention when you look at your shelf anyway. So to a large extent, the posing is, you know, pretty much redundant. One thing that does help is the amazing, I mean ridiculous frankly, ankle and toe pivots. Obviously for the transformation, but just so you can see, yeah, I mean, geezer can do that. Wow. That does make it quite easy to find a solid base for him, no matter what sort of position you want him to hold. There does seem to be a lot of robot kibble on the legs, but it's not really a problem, and it really doesn't cause me concern, especially when I look at, again, Make Toys Downbeat, which literally has cankles. And as an aside, it feels like I'm totally ragging on Make Toys Downbeat. It's actually a really solid figure and my personal representation of jazz until Fanstoys or Takara do one. The one thing I will say about these Fanstoys sets, and you can see them in these comparison shots as well, with the Takara and some other, you know, car bots available on the market, third-party ones, they don't scale that well. They're a good, 25% bigger than some of the other Carbots in the collection, and it's probably a good thing that you're not going to be displaying these with the Autobots, so they'll be in their own little section, I imagine, in your Decepticon detail for whatever it is you've got at home. But yeah, they don't scale brilliantly with non-Fanstoys figures, and even with some of the Fanstoys ones, they were a bit suspect, so just bear that in mind when you're thinking about how you want to display them. By and large, these Fanstoys figures, as you've seen, come out of the box in bot mode, which is a godsend for me. I am not great at transformations, and that is why I will not be doing transformation videos on this channel. Frankly, doing them on camera is quite stressful and quite difficult, and I don't think I could be as informative or as instructional as you guys would want, or as other alternatives would be. So there's plenty that you can check out on YouTube. If there's enough demand for it, leave it in the comments, and I may start doing it in the future. But certainly I'm glad I didn't have to do it for this one. I did take a few shots, which you'll see in a second, because there are certain moments when you untab something on this figure and the whole thing explodes in your hand. You'll see that here, and it's not a pleasant experience, I will be honest. Some parts were intuitive, others felt like explaining the plot of Donnie Darko to your nan, but it's done, I've finished, and we can present to you the amazing alt mode. All the pain, the heartache and the flailing limbs, they were worth it in the end, because this mode really showcases that fantastic yellow paint job. The tyres are made of a good quality rubber, and the chrome plastic accents give the whole thing a very premium feel. The holo driver looks great, if a little stylised, compare him to the Takara minifigures, and this guy's got a head the size of Eric Stoltz in the film Mask. But thankfully, the scaling problem from bot mode does not extend to the alt mode. You can see him next to TE03 Speedstar, aka Mirage, another F1 car bot, and he looks and scales pretty well, to be honest. In fact, it's actually a far better representation of a Formula 1 car than Speedstar, so a really good, solid all-round effort. Fundamentally, you're going to be displaying him next to his Fanstoys Stunticon brethren, and that looks so good, I might have to go and take a lie down for a bit. There's only Bandit left to complete that awesome set now, and then we'll be able to see how it all combines together, and that's going to be the real clincher as to whether that set was worth your time and money. So we'll look forward to that. Overall, Smokey's not the best Fanstoys figure in recent memory, nor is he, in my opinion, the best overall figure from their Stunticon set. But he looks so good, you are willing to overlook the minor flaws in upper body articulation and so forth, because he really has a lot of shelf presence and will be a show stealer for your collection. If you're already collecting the Stunticon set, you're going to buy this no matter what I say today. But if you are on the fence, I would definitely recommend looking into it if you like a look from this video, because it is a solid piece, and I think it will take a pride of place in your collection, as it quickly will do in mine, I'm sure. All in all, I'm going to give him 4 stars, and what a great way to start the channel. A really solid figure and a really enjoyable piece to play with as well, to be honest. Thank you for joining me today. And make sure you hit the like, subscribe and the bell notification button on this video so you can stay up to date, because later today we'll be dropping a sneak preview unboxing of next week's TOYBOX Tuesday figure for review. So hit that bell, stay notified and join me a bit later today when we drop that.